Welcome to Bourbon School. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Brian. And today we are going to talk about bourbons you need to get right now.
They are flying off the shelves, so don't hesitate.
All right, so we're living in a world where bourbon is flying off the shelves. And you always want to try to find the next good thing to grab before it's too hard to find.
Right. So what we're going to do today is talk about a few bottles that we are recommending you buy now.
Right.
Before they are gone.
Right. They're either going to be harder to find or more expensive very, very soon. And all three of these, would you say they're recommendations?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Great bottles. And there are also some distilleries with some really great stories.
All right, so we're going to start with New Riff 2014.
New Riff. Let's go.
All right, here she is. I like the bottle. I like the design.
It's a beautiful bottle.
I like the fade. Yeah, it's beautiful. Okay, so the story behind New Riff. We've got a liquor store owner.
Right.
And he decides, what's his name again?
Ken Lewis.
Okay, Ken Lewis. He owns a liquor store. But in Kentucky, you cannot own a liquor store and a distillery.
Correct.
So what he decides to do, in a heroic move, in my opinion, is to sell his liquor store to his employees and then open and run his distillery.
Right.
And the result we have is New Riff.
And this is a delicious bourbon. They're doing all kinds of great things. They have bottled and bond, which is what we have right here. They also have a barrel proof, single barrel, which is phenomenal. And a lot of times with that one, you're going to find store picks all over the place. And so, like we talked about in our video on single barrels, it's going to vary from place to place. But New Riff's doing it right. So our next recommendation for a bourbon you should go out and get right now is Penelope.
So good.
Delicious. I absolutely love what Penelope is doing with their bourbon. So a little bit of backstory. It's two guys in New Jersey named Mike and Dan. And they decided to celebrate the birth of Mike's child. They were going to start a distillery.
And how sweet is that?
It is. So
who doesn't want a bourbon named after them?
Right. Little baby Penelope has this lovely bourbon named after her.
It's a legacy.
It is. Absolutely. And I will tell you, Penelope is fantastic. Now, most of Penelope's bourbon is sourced. They do blend it with their own, but a lot of it comes from MGP in Indiana. And what I really like about Penelope is they're doing all kinds of cool things with their bourbon. What we have here in front of us is their barrel strength. And their barrel strength, now this is batch 12, and it comes in at about 113 proof. They also do a toasted barrel strength. And this one, and what I like about the toasted is that some of them you can get with a heavy toast. Some of them you get with a medium toast. But this is along the lines of like a Woodford Double Oaked, Old Forester 1910, that toasted barrel flavor. So this is fantastic. And then over here on the far end is Penelope Architect, which is finished on French oak staves. So they're doing all kinds of great stuff with their bourbon. And all of these are right in our price range.
True. But I was going to ask you, what's your favorite?
Oh, for
you
me,
had to pick one. Sophie's choice.
Straight up, I would go barrel strength. I think the barrel strength is absolutely fantastic.
Okay, well, I'm going to try it right now.
Okay.
I'm on it.
And they also make a standard 80 proof bourbon that's also quite good, and you can get for about $35. So
Ooh,
Penelope,
that is a reasonable price
right.
range.
Penelope is doing things at a pretty reasonable price, and they're making really, really good bourbon. The barrel strength comes in at about $60. The barrel strength toasted comes in around $65. This is the most expensive, and this one's actually at the top of our range at about $75. But it is so, so worth it. It reminds me a lot of a kind of high test Maker's Mark 46, where it's got that French oak kind of finish on it. You really do taste the oak, and it's at about 104 proof, and it is an absolutely delicious bottle. 100% worth the $75 price tag. I had a couple of friends over the other day for the football game, and we actually did a blind tasting. We did a budget, a mid-range, and a more expensive bourbon. And both of my friends overwhelmingly picked the Penelope as their favorite. And so I am confident in saying, if you find the Penelope Architect, totally worth the $75.
She's one lucky gal.
Absolutely. And Penelope in general is a great, great pick.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. Okay, Brian, our third pick, Redwood Empire.
Love them.
Look at these bottles.
Beautiful.
I mean, they're just beautiful artwork. And they remind me of The Last of Us. If anybody plays The Last of Us, like they have the human and nature aspect to the artistic drawings. I mean, they're really just cool. So beautiful. Like the drawings on each one. So they're inspired by trees in the redwood forest, and they're all like delicious.
Yes.
I mean, every single one we tried, we love. So if you see these in the liquor store, you have to pick one up.
For sure. They are fantastic bourbons. The Pipe Dream is the bourbon, the straight bourbon, and it is a really, really good bottle. And you get these for about $35.
Oh yeah, Brian brought this over to my house recently, and we took it down.
We put a hurting on it.
We did. I mean, we each had a bit of a tasting, and it was delicious. I mean, we loved it. It was so good.
What I love about Redwood Empire is the Pipe Dream particularly. It is so well rounded. It is very, very flavorful. It is kind of in the middle ground at 90 proof. And it's just smooth and real easy drinking. And I would say it's pretty close to a perfect bourbon. It's really delightful.
Start to finish, it's really delicious.
Yes.
And I think it might be my favorite of all of our recommendations.
Yeah. Now over here on my right, we have the Cask Strength. This is a fairly newer release from Redwood Empire. And while we said the regular release is about $35, the Cask Strength comes in a little bit more. I got this one for $70, and it does bump it up to about 116 proof. But
how does it compare? Yeah.
All of that extra proof is 100% flavor. It is delicious.
Okay, Brian, in the middle here, we have a Boo Rye. Tell us about that.
So this is Redwood Empire Lost Monarch, and it is basically a blend of bourbon and rye. So if you are playing around with the idea of rye and wanting to get into that more spicy, maybe a little less sweet blend of whiskey, this one's a really great one to get into because it is delicious. And again, you don't feel bad spending $35 on the bottle.
Yeah.
If you hate it, you mix it, and you're only out $35.
These are bargain bottles, but they're all tasty and delicious.
And I will tell you 100%, Redwood Empire is one to watch. It's A, going to become harder to find, and B, it's going to start climbing up in price. So these are ones to go make sure you go and grab.
I can't even find it in Pennsylvania.
No kidding.
No, I can't find it.
Which is weird because we have them in our little town here in New York. I've got them at 2 out of the 3 liquor stores.
No, I can't find them.
Right.
So they're flying off the shelves.
Great. That's great for them. If you find it around you, make sure you grab this one because it's a winner. And I would say it's a close second. I am a huge fan of Penelope. This is a close second as far as these ones that we're recommending today.
You're not going to go wrong with any of them.
Absolutely not. All right,
Brian. So if I'm coming in on my rankings, I've got Redwood at number 1. Then I have Penelope. Then I have New Riff.
And I think that's great. The only thing I would do is flip-flop Penelope and Redwood. I like Penelope the best. I love what they're doing with their bourbon.
This from the man who brought Redwood to my house as a gift.
True.
And it was delicious.
Absolutely.
Did I drink half the bottle?
You did.
You shared it with me.
But I think at one point you were drinking straight from the bottle.
True.
Penelope, Redwood.
Shame.
New Riff. Now, both of us putting New Riff as third by no means it's not a good bourbon.
No.
It's fantastic. And I really love what they're doing. And I love their story. It's just a great bourbon to have. So if you find these items on the shelf, go out and grab them. Some places you might not find them just yet. They're all kind of expanding their reach and their distribution.
Once they pop up, you snag. You have to.
For sure.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our Bourbon School videos.
We really would like to build a community of bourbon drinkers here, so make sure you share this with your fellow bourbon drinkers and have them come join us here. Cheers.
Cheers. There are videos.
We're trying to build a great community out here of bourbon drinkers, so share this with your fellow bourbon drinkers and have them join us here on Bourbon School.
And don't forget, we're starting our Valentine's video next week.
Nope, we're not. We already did it.
Well, we're going to post it.